What's up, guys? I just want to have a little disclaimer before these podcasts start. So for the next 3 weeks, this podcast, the following podcast, and the one after that, they were all recorded in one day, and I do not know for the life of me what happened to the audio, and it just, like, the files are there, they're just not showing up. Like, they don't come out on the editors tab. I gotta do like a full breakdown. I'll do a full breakdown maybe eventually of what happened, but these next 3 podcasts are strictly from the audio of the camera. So you can hear the conversation, but it's not as smooth and as elegant as, my other podcasts, how amazing they are. I'll stop. But basically, the audio is coming from the camera, so it's sound. You can hear the wind in the background. You can hear the quality just isn't as good. So for anybody listening on Spotify, I am truly sorry. For anybody watching on YouTube and the audio just sounds weird, I'm truly sorry. I'm taking full responsibility for these 3 next podcasts, and I also want to personally apologize to the 3 guests coming up. I won't say the other ones on this one, but I want to personally apologize to Robby. I know even in this podcast there were technical difficulties. Like, I had to troubleshoot my computer. The audio wasn't recording, and we got maybe 30 minutes of a podcast on this one, which is why it's a little bit shorter. Overall, these next 3 podcasts aren't the best, and I want to apologize in advance. But other than that, in these next 3 weeks, I am doing all my research I can just to get the best podcast out possible. But there's no way I can leave you guys hanging for a week. So, again, I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys still enjoy. I want you to see San Benito and Harlingen. We'll film another pod after.
All right. We'll
and you re-rank those lists again. Who's like the best crack?
And talking about doing podcasts and stuff like this is that if you expect perfectionism, you're never going to make it.
Welcome back to the podcast. In this episode of Brandon and Ryan Meets. Today, Brandon and Ryan Meets
RobbyCTV.
RobbyCTV.
Or RobbyCTV, better known as RobbyCTV or Robby C.
Yeah. If you see this guy on Instagram, you probably recognize him from his sports clips, sports interviews. Highschool's here in San Antonio. If you can't tell, I'm in a different setup. I'm in the San Antonio area today, so a little bit out of my comfort of zone, but it's not too far from home.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm from way down south. I told you off camera a little bit. So like we were talking off camera about this, but I wanted to bring it up on the pod too. Like, what's the? Also, we're live on TikTok, so if you see us looking down there,
we are live on TikTok.
If you see us looking live down there, then we're live on TikTok as well. I did want to ask where this all started, because my coach, and from another podcast, he recommended you because he's like, yeah, like my buddy Robby, he got into media and all that stuff, and you even told me on camera you knew him when you were younger.
Yeah.
And you saw your growth, and he's like, this kid has a lot like you can learn from.
Yeah.
So I want to know how you started.
Well, with Coach, first of all.
The green light, brother. Turn it this way. Tuck into that light.
So Coach, no, that's fine. Coach, I met Coach at Palo Alto. So he had a weightlifting class, and he had basically what is 7-on-7 flag football. Mm-hmm. And I met him through that. And, we would always talk a lot of sports. Coach was very fast, by the way. Still is, I hear. And, I met that way. I always say school is a good way to meet people. That's why I love athletics. I mean, I wouldn't know Coach or wouldn't be here without athletics. So athletics are extremely important, especially on some of those sides of towns like Palo Alto, which definitely needs, they have an aquatic center right now that really needs to be built because it's an important part of that community. We'll go more into that later. But one of the reasons why I started is that's what I'm saying. That's why I brought up athletics. Athletics is a huge thing. And from the areas that I'm from, there was just never a lot of news media coverage out there. You get players that never got interviews or anything. So one of the reasons why I started was literally to go to these areas and make sure that these athletes and communities were given a spotlight. Something that before the news would come out there here and there, but it never was enough. It was always like everybody was kind of like third rate. So I decided myself to go out there and start something where we can give more spotlight to these areas and these communities.
That's cool. Yeah, like I grew up in San Benito. That's not exactly It's not exactly the biggest school. Growing up, I think I've seen over the last 10 years, especially, I've seen the increase, not even just popularity, but media itself. I mean, you have athletes aside, San Benito will ride or die for the athletes. Like, I've seen it. You know, I think it was 2014 or 2015. Somebody would probably correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Where a Lady Hound softball went to the Final Four.
Yes.
3 hours before the game, there was people already waiting there for 7 already lined up. So San Benito loves their athletes for sure, but the media has for sure been
surge, especially independent media.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like we and when I started to, it's like I was telling you before the podcast started. Man, I didn't have no followers when it first started at all. And that's what they say. Like now we're doing things as far as getting money from sponsors and advertisers and getting paid through TikTok and Instagram and even Facebook. But you know, when we first started, this was never about making money. We literally seen a problem and we wanted to address that problem. And it's like they say, if you really start off doing something good, well then other things come. And for us, it has definitely been to the point where that's been the case, because we never started this to make money. We started it off purely as a way to make sure that certain athletes in certain areas and communities were getting that spotlight that they lacked. And I think so far from, you know, what you see us doing, it's working for sure.
So this podcast and this channel, because I upload it to my main YouTube channel. I post like my workout videos and all that, because it's just the purpose of this podcast. I think I told you a little bit off camera. It's more of a conversation instead of an interview, because I feel like it's more on a personal level.
Yeah, for sure.
These people like you with athletes, these kids have these stories they don't know about. Like it's different seeing stats on paper.
For sure.
And instead of hearing from
the actual story, the emotions
coming from the kid, like you can just see it in athletes. And I saw it growing up. I've seen it now that I'm out of high school. I've seen other, like there's just kids that are just straight up, like you can't have passion on paper.
Yeah, for
sure. You know what I mean? And like that's athletes in general. That's people in general. I mean, I could have just gotten any other sports media guy, but there's no other Robby, there's no other Brandon. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So that's I think the way you were tapping into how we have Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. It's good that there's so much exposure, because media is so open now.
Yeah.
There's so many different personalities and people with goals and passion.
And I tell people too, like we're living in a golden age. Like you can literally get a phone now and record yourself. Like right now, we're on TikTok live right now. Yeah. You know, you couldn't. Those are things that you just couldn't do before. And for me, it's like not only do I do what I do, but we're coaching athletes now. We're doing consulting with businesses. We're doing marketing where we're showing them that you no longer just need to be on the TV or advertise on the TV. Like you have a weapon right in front of you, which is that phone. So if you can, record podcasts, record talking to the boys, record lifting weights, you know, because you have a way in which you can give yourself exposure like never before. And I think it's a great thing going forward, because it's like I said before, you could not get certain news entities or media into certain areas, and now you sort of kind of can control that, you know what I mean? So there's kind of no excuse for not being able to build a business or not being able to put yourself out there, because we're living in changing times. And I think more people need to realize that as we go forward, especially into 2024.
Yeah, it's been, speaking of the new year, it's this year alone, I think this is the 5th podcast of this year. First week of February. At the time of this recording, it's what, February 3rd?
Something like that.
Yeah, like that. So I've been putting out one a week. And
it's almost Valentine's Day, everybody.
I've been pumping out one a week since, I think it was August.
Yeah.
And every time I have somebody else on here that I've never met before. Like obviously in the beginning I had some of my friends and family members and all that stuff. But it just opens up the door to other people that I can meet. And like I said, my coach recommended me to you, because it's like that branch. Like you can learn something from me in a way, and I feel like I can learn something from you in a way.
100%.
But like you're saying, it's like the golden age of social media. I think it has its benefits and it has its bad things too.
I do think that there is, you know, some bad things, obviously. But to me, that's like with anything, right? If you sit down and watch TV all day, you're gonna be in trouble. If you drink too much Coca-Cola every day, like moderation is always key. And that's what I'm saying. There is drawbacks to it, but there's a lot of potential benefits, especially somebody like you or me, to lift weights, powerlifting and do stuff, you got to be disciplined.
Yeah.
Well, you have to take those same type of lessons and discipline into doing stuff like, social media in moderation and what you're doing. So I do think there is drawbacks, but for me, it's like that with anything. You just kind of got to be disciplined with what you're doing. You know what I mean?
So after like 30 minutes, probably even longer,
we're back in.
I'm sorry. I'm going to put this in the beginning of the disclaimer, but this podcast is going to be a lot shorter because there was a good 30 minutes that we lost out. The computer restarted, had to troubleshoot it, ran through the mics again, had to restart the application, but we're back and we're good. If anything, like I said off camera, this makes room for a part 2.
We are alive.
I don't know. I think it cut off. We were talking about like the exposure of social media and all that good stuff.
Social media, and in between this time, we were on TikTok Live, and for instance, like we talk about connections, you were able to talk to my friend Errol. Errol's an actor in Los Angeles. We got him on the TikTok Live. We rode through that as we were having technical difficulties. Yeah. But Errol came on here talking about the current state of social media as well. And it's like I'm saying, this is a golden opportunity
what happened now?
that is existing in today's current.
I think we're good.
Are we good?
It says we're good. If it goes out again, I don't know. I guess the audio's gonna have to come from the camera.
We're back.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
We're back.
I'm sorry. Like this is the worst. Production-wise, the worst
it
podcast.
Happens,
I know.
Talking to Brandon right now, and we're talking about this. We're having a conversation here, right?
Yeah.
If you're never going to be a creator, you're never going anywhere if you cannot deal with technical difficulties. Yeah. We deal with technical difficulties all the time, and the people that make it to the top are the people that can make it through the technical difficulties because it's never going to be perfect. It's like we were talking about before. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Yeah. So for me, it's working through these things, and I say this because this is something good to lead off on, telling creators and talking about doing podcasts and stuff like this, is that if you expect perfectionism, you're never going to make it. The best creators know how to work through issues like this and keep going, which is exactly what we're doing right now. Yeah.
I think for sure, creator wise, size, it's ironic that you are the biggest creator to be featured on this podcast, and this is the podcast with the most creative issues.
Yeah.
So like Coach said, I mean, I got some things to learn, and the way, you have no idea how bad I feel right now.
Oh no, but here's the thing though, man. Like it's but you shouldn't because these things make you better. Yeah. You don't know how many times we went to the football field or basketball games with no service, phone batteries low. Like, what are we doing? Why are we? How can we prepare better? How can we put in backup things as stopgaps so these things can't and won't happen? Because it's never going to be perfect, and that's why me even doing this today, I'm really not bothered by it because this is how you get to the top. You're going to have these issues. How can you best weather these issues and go forward? And I think this is a good issue to talk about because we're talking about being creators. You're not going to have a big following at the beginning. Things are going to go wrong, but it's those people that can get through those barriers that are going to get to the top. Because if you expect to get into this business or any business and not have issues, bro, you're living in the make-believe. This is not perfect. You're going to have ups and downs, but the question is, can you get better from those? And I think clearly, even to this point now, even though you're having issues, you're still going to get better. We're going to get better. I'm going to get better. You know what I mean? So definitely.
Well, thank you. You of all people, you understand this because you've been here. Technical difficulties aside, we got to get back to what I want to talk about. As of right now, obviously you do mainly San Antonio area, right? But you do.
We gotta do a lot of South Texas.
Okay.
We've done Corpus Christi area. We've done a couple Rio Grande Valley games, and we've even stretched out to Laredo. Some of the main focus is in the San Antonio region, but we like last night we were in Lavernia, outside of San Antonio, Floresville, Pearsall, Somerset, Lido. There's so many different places I could talk about that we go, but in that regional sense, kind of in that area, I would say.
Okay, so what schools have you seen? Oh, first and foremost, I gotta know your top 3 sports to not only enjoy watching, but to cover.
My top 3 sports that I like covering are football, basketball, and boxing, for sure.
In that order, football?
Yes, okay. For sure. And I love basketball.
Yeah.
I get into basketball almost just as much as football, but football to me holds a special place. There's something about football, the energy in the air that is just hard to replicate anywhere. So football is always going to be number one, man. I don't know about for you.
No, I mean, I was gonna say bias aside, but obviously it's my opinion. Especially down south.
Oh yeah.
Back home, football's a religion. People eat, sleep, and breathe that. Especially from the valley, and then you get the biggest rivalry in Texas with San Benito and Cardinals.
Oh man, tremendous.
I'm gonna sound like I'm homesick.
Tremendous.
Even though I'm just in San Antonio.
Tremendous.
But football has always been the biggest thing, and then softball is pretty big. I mean, I would watch the Lady Hounds all the time because I had a couple family members playing, and then some of my friends were in, some of my closest like girl friends were in softball, and then I just got invested into it. So now it's pretty fun to watch. But to me personally, basketball will always have my heart. Growing up, I watched the Spurs, anything college basketball, NBA. Which
Spurs aren't so hot right now.
I know they're not. It breaks my heart to see.
They got some good players. They got some. I think they'll be okay.
They'll be okay. Yeah, it's just I mean, my legs are shattered, my knees and my ankles are shattered right now because I don't know if I didn't really say it on the pod or we said it on live, but I pulled an all-nighter.
He pulled an all-nighter.
Last night I was playing basketball with my boys. Like I think it was a good 3 hours. My legs are hurting.
Cardio.
But I just love basketball. Like
everything
about it is my favorite thing. But I do. Enough about me here. I gotta ask this. What are for football? The 3 biggest crowds.
The 3 biggest
that
crowds
you've gone to.
Man, obviously, the state championships, AT&T. Okay. Some of the crowd was between like 35 or 45,000.
Okay. But the best atmosphere like from a home game. Because playoffs obviously you're gonna get
You know the battle 1604 between Somerset and Southside always brings a big crowd. The Frontier Bowl between Harlandale and McCullum. The Frontier Bowl brings a crazy crowd, so that's a big one. I would say for a third one, obviously playoff games that you have in certain areas can get big attendance. I would say one of the bigger ones I went to before, Corpus Christi Miller. Again, who did they play when Andrew Body was quarterback? Man, I forgot who they played. They played somebody in the 3rd round, but it was a huge crowd, a huge exciting crowd for that one. Yeah. So there's it depends on matchups, right? Like in playoffs, like for instance, we're talking about Corpus Christi Miller. Corpus Christi Miller just scheduled DeSoto, who's the defending state champion from the DFW area, and they're going to play, I believe, in San Marcos. So that's a big pull for Miller and DeSoto, and that should be a big crowd as well. You got a team coming from Corpus Christi and a team coming from Dallas to meet. So that's an exciting one for the upcoming season. But definitely some of those rivalry games definitely get the big kick going as far as bringing fans and communities together.
Yeah, for sure. And what about down south?
Down south, man, I've got to be honest, we have not been to some of those down south games. The San Benito Harlingen one, we have been invited to. What is it, the Battle of the Arroyo? Yeah, we have not been there yet. We're looking to get there, though. We want to get there.
Well, saying it on the pod, I want to personally invite you.
So we're getting invited. We're getting invited.
I'll see how this plays out, but I'm like for sure. I want you to see San Benito and Harlingen. We'll film another pod after.
All right.
And you re-rank those lists again. Of who's like the best crowds?
Yeah, we can do that. I really would like to go cover that game. There's an account, San Benito Greyhounds. Puerto Greyhounds. Yeah. We love talking with them. They're close with us. We're close with them. They support a lot of the stuff we do. So shout out to them. And hopefully we'll be able to get down there and cover one of those games for sure.
I'll see. I don't want to sound like big shot. So I'll see what I can do.
Hey, any help we can do, we'll take it, bro.
Because sure, the podcast with Coach Gomez that I did. Shout out to Coach Gomez again, great guy. I did tell you off camera, but there was a lot of exposure with that. I put out a teaser, like. It was a 30-second clip.
They're like, man, he got him on the podcast.
Clip, and I think on TikTok it passed like 12,000 views, which isn't stupid viral.
Yeah.
But all my other TikToks are like 800 or like 12,000, and then Instagram, like bottom line, the love for that podcast was just insane,
crazy.
And I had a buddy of mine.
Well, you got to be doing something special, bro. It's not easy to get Gomez on a podcast. So.
It's
you got to tell us your shit.
It's Gomez, man. No, but a buddy of mine is in high school. He's a senior. Shout out GVP Joseph. He's another YouTuber friend of mine. He FaceTimed me the day that it was, because I always schedule pods Friday at 1. Every week, Friday at 1.
Nice.
And he FaceTimed me during lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Like the lunchtime, I was like, what's up? It was like 12:56. I'm like waiting for the response. The countdown is live. Flip the camera. Everybody had their phones up. Like just waiting for the pod. I'm like, dude, that's fucking sick.
Right? You got a crowd ready to go.
Like, but
anticipation.
Yeah, like that is to this day my biggest podcast, and it's one of my favorite ones because I've knew of Gomez since I think he started when I was in 5th grade, 6th grade. So just hearing Coach Gomez, great, Coach Gomez, great. So to finally actually like sit down with him and see what more comes with him instead of just a playbook and some whistles.
Just coaching you, right? Like getting to know the man, right?
Yeah.
You know, getting inside the head, knowing how things click and work. Yeah, certainly.
So we have another podcast between us two after this Battle de Arroyo, and
well, we may have one sooner than that.
Yeah.
May have another one here in March due to technical difficulties.
Yeah, so I think this podcast is going to be probably 30 minutes maybe. I think the first clip was like 10.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I'll watch it back. It's going to be short.
And we're going to have some of that on my channels as well. So y'all, we're going to have Brandon out there. Bro.
So for sure, follow him on TikTok and Instagram. Link in the description below as always. I know this is going to be a hard question. Take all the time you need to think on this.
Okay.
What's the end goal here?
The end goal is that,
Damn, that was good.
we want to be able to build what is essentially like a station for some of our athletes in the community to get on. The end goal is to make sure that we are giving exposure, but that we're doing this 24/7 for the right reasons, which is giving athletes and communities in certain areas that don't get the spotlight. We want to make sure that they're getting that spotlight. And by bringing people together, whether it's networking or doing current events or doing things that have to do with athletics, but not just athletics, also doing stuff that have to do with the community, like local stories, businesses. How can we help those businesses thrive, get more customers, and build clientele? And at the same time, how can we help our athletes reach out to colleges, get seen by colleges, but not just the all-out college aspect of it, is where are we going with helping build careers? Like I say, when we cover football, when we cover athletes, we don't cover because they're going to be Division I. You know, we want them to be Division I. We want our athletes to go as high as they can. But some of these athletes, when we walk on the field, we don't just see, you know, D1 athletes. We see future mayors, governors, United States presidents, senators, judges, soldiers, Army, you know the Marines. We see people building their own businesses, attorneys, future, police. We firefighters. We see these strengths within these communities. So we want to make sure that we're not covering athletes just based on if they're going D1. We're covering a person based on a person. Yeah. We're not labeling them in a certain way where we're only coming there for coverage, and I think that's what separates our business. We treat the person as the person should be treated and as where we think that these people can go in life. And that's, that's an issue I see. A lot of people don't treat people how, for their potential. Yeah. We treat people for how they are and their potential and what we believe what they can do, which is sky is the limit for our athletes and our communities. And that's why I have such a big following, because the people know I believe in them and they believe in me. And I think if we keep that going, the end goal is so much greater than myself. It's just multiple things helping communities and athletes. And I think that with today's current social media trends, we can certainly build something out that helps us help the people. We don't got to be on a TV station anymore. We can do things our way by being able to network and talk with people. And that's where we're growing. The end goal is to make sure that we are getting these communities and athletes thriving. And I think we are well on our way to doing that.
That's great to hear, because I mean, where do I begin with that? I think I relate to that in the sense that my message, my goal with this podcast, with my channel, with content, me in general, is just, you don't have to start off as this big thing to be successful. You can, I think I grew up in a middle class family. I wasn't super poor, but it's just, you can't be labeled as just where you come from. It's where you finish.
Yes.
So like with this podcast, I mean, we experienced the troubles with this damn laptop.
Yeah.
It's not the best camera. I don't have the best lighting in studio, but it's just my passion's only growing for it. If you would have seen the production from the first podcast to this one, like it's just grown so much.
Phenomenal.
And back in 8th grade when I started making YouTube videos, I mean, I was recording on a Samsung touchscreen tablet, and it was just. I really hope those don't resurface.
The growth process,
Yeah.
the growth process, right? Like
So-
going forward.
Yeah, so even with like my workout videos or with podcasts, like I'm not the biggest guy in the gym, nor the strongest guy, the biggest podcast, but it's just I just love everything that I'm doing, and I'm just bringing people along with me because I do think that my life and quote unquote story is. I mean, I was gonna do it either way.
Yeah.
Like regardless if anybody's watching or anybody's not, I'm still gonna hit the gym. I'm still gonna meet people. Like like if these cameras weren't off, I would have found some way to hit you up or like talk to my coach one-on-one or have these
still network somehow.
Yeah, but
regardless.
because I just don't. I love being challenged in the sense that I do have my own set ways, but everybody that sat in front of me on this podcast or in life or in general, they've all taught me something that sticks with me or something I think about. Even if it's the smallest thing in the world, I just love evolving, adapting because I'm grasping so much perspectives, especially with this podcast. It's not even just a sports podcast. I've gotten coaches, I've gotten bodybuilders,
all kinds of things.
I got country singers, like I got
variety. Yeah,
like I just love meeting people and like hearing their stories. And I mean, if they want to convey some message out there, obviously you have yours, my coach has his, and various people have had their story to be told. And it's fascinating to think like everybody has their own struggles. Everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own end game, their goal, and that's just what I love. Like I want to bring the best out of people that I can.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure you do too. Like I'm sure. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this probably about 3 or 4 years now.
So imagine 5 years ago, when those kids at those lower, like those schools that don't get any exposure, like oh they're never gonna fucking see me. They're just gonna see stats on the paper. Now you're putting that exposure. Now it's making the kids work hard. Like oh shit, Robby's gonna be here. I gotta ball out this game.
Because we got the spotlight on them. We got those views now. For sure. And that's the thing, man. We didn't have any. Whenever I played, wasn't too long ago, but we didn't have somebody to come out there and that literally, paid attention to us. Yeah. People might come out there, but it was so random. It was few and far between. And, we didn't have somebody that concentrated on us. Like, it always felt like somebody was just passing by, So for me, I think the emphasis was to make sure that these areas were getting the attention they deserve and getting it frontally. Like, from the get-go. That they were what they were supposed to be, right at the forefront and getting the attention they deserved. And for me, the company message will always be, to help them get the spotlight on them from day one and make sure we're paying attention to what they're doing.
That's good.
It was just an update.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, for sure, 100% for sure.
Now, do you think if given the right opportunity, you would still stick to just high school? Or you branch out to college or
I think, so we are doing college already. We have done, we're doing professional boxing. So we're into professional boxing, and we have done college. Incarnate Word specifically. We've done Palo Alto. We've covered Trinity. So we are into the college aspect of it. Yeah. But I just feel like sometimes the areas we're covering, they need the coverage a little bit more. But our company definitely would expand more into the college level, even though we're already doing it, into boxing. But we'll always have a component of high school ball in there just because some of these areas need the coverage and they need that. So we'll always have a component to the business of that. But we are growing going forward for sure.
Yeah, and again, feel free to stop me if I'm crossing any lines here. How big is that team?
Our team is actually pretty big. We have several cameramen going into the 6 to 7 man territory. Okay. I also got 2 assistants. So our team, we have a decently strong team, and we may be adding more to that team as we get into football season. Right now, we like to keep it where we're at. since we're covering basketball, boxing, and whatnot. But the team has the potential for growth. But right now, we're at about that level as we speak right now.
And you're the only, like, you are the show.
Yes.
Which is going to be the hard part. I would think it's the hard part moving forward because Friday Night Lights. There's so many games going on.
There's
you can
so
only
many
be in
games.
one spot.
Yes. Well, we're coming up with ways to work with that. Our photographers sending us pictures or videos from other games.
Oh, okay, so you have like
voiceovers,
people that, okay,
like
yeah.
the news.
Yeah.
You know, my guys will go get footage from a game I can't go to, and I'll be at a game that night, and then I'll do the VO, the voiceover.
Okay.
Like the news station. So like there may be a game in Harlingen or San Benito, you send me the footage and I can still say the Battle of the Royal tonight, so and so, blah 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 blah. So yeah, we're working on different things like that. Actually, we already do it.
Yeah, that's great.
So
you showed me your Instagram reels, and
yes.
the one that you just showed me was a voiceover. So it had me thinking, like, were you there with your phone, or were you?
We were actually there for that one, but some of them were not.
Yeah.
If you see one of my cameramen, Logan, asked me when am I going to put up the clip last night of a Medina Valley player scoring 1,000 points for the season. So we're going to have to put that clip up. He got that clip. It's from Medina Valley. I wasn't there, but we're going to run the VO over that and share it on TikTok and Instagram.
That's sweet. And how does that, I guess, recruiting process go? I'm not asking for a job.
As far as like how we look at people,
with your team,
we look at people who are dedicated to these areas, because you get a lot of people that they'll say they want to do it and they're not dedicated to the area. So they're kind of like just putting their foot in, but then they don't have the dedication to covering the teams that we cover. Yeah. So we definitely like to hire people like you. You know about the Battle of the Royal. You know, we want people that want to do the work on the ground, yeah, that are interested in doing it. Because if you bring somebody on that's not interested in it, they're really not going to put the work in that you need. And it's like me too. I talk about, you'll see a lot of videographers out there and whatnot, but a lot of these videographers too, they just like showing up to the event and showing that they have a badge. Yeah. They cut 3 or 4 videos and they go home. Like, we're looking for guys and people that are interested in those events, that want to stay and put in the work. Because a lot of people think you can do this business and just put in like an hour or 2 and walk away, and it's like, bruh, that's not the way this works. You got to put in the work. Because a lot of people want to go to games and then go eat afterwards and do all this fun stuff, and it's like, bro, once the game's over, you got to edit and post stuff. Yeah. It's a whole another 3 or 4 hours after the game. And see, people, they don't have that dedication. So they wonder why I'm growing or doing stuff. Well, guess what? I got the dedication, bro. There's no secret sauce. Yeah. It's put in work. Put in the work, you know? Yeah. It's like you said, you didn't even sleep last night. You're here doing this podcast. Yeah. We had trouble. We're still doing it. Like, put in the work. You know what I mean? And that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. There's just, with the whole social media thing, I think a lot of people have the misconception of how do I go viral, in terms of, instead of how do I build the community. Because if I post one video now and 1 second or like 1 5-second clip goes viral, I'm gonna be known as that guy that did this instead of everything else.
For me, that's what I'm saying. For me, we don't worry about it. We can go somewhere. I tell people all the time, we've hit tons of 1 million view videos. We have tons of million view videos out there. But sometimes some of the best videos is like, if I went to Livernia or a small town and we only get 1,000 likes on a post or 1,000 views on a post, it doesn't matter. Those 1,000 views are important. There's a lot of people that like to clean up their grids on TikTok and Instagram. So you'll see they have a lot of views on every one of their posts, but really they're deleting the posts that only get 1,000 or 5,000 views. So it makes the grid look all nice and pretty for us. We're not like that. Yeah. We could get 800 views. We're gonna keep it up there because those 800 views are important to us, and that's a build-up. You know, we don't care. You know, and for the 800 viewers that are viewing that, those viewers are very important to us. Yeah. So we're not going to delete the video just because, you know, we hit 2.5 million video and then we hit a video with only 800 views. Those 800 views are just as important, so we're going to leave them on there. So if you look at my grid, our grid isn't as pretty as other people's, but we got way more views and way more followers. You know why? Because that's putting in the dirty work. Like, you know, you got to leave videos up, you know, and for us, that's our philosophy. We're not cleaning up the grid in that way. So, yeah.
That's great. That's good to hear. If anybody listening and watching at home, if they wish or they have this thought of doing content and they're stopping themselves, just fucking do it, dude. That's the only way to do it. Like,
do it.
Like, if you just...
Yeah, I don't know how many times I did videos, we got 0 likes, 0 views, maybe 1, my own family, you know what I'm saying? Maybe my mom watching, maybe my dad or whatnot, but we kept working. Every day we kept working because we knew we had a good product. And when you believe in yourself, you just keep pushing. You know, a lot of people don't realize in this game, it's like you're talking, they want to talk about the metrics, about this or that, but a big weapon in this game is perseverance, man. People underestimate perseverance. Perseverance is something you can't teach. You have to have it in you. There may be somebody bigger than you, more talented, lift more weights, whatever. But if you can outlast them, bro, you're going to beat them. And so many people in this business, they come in and they underestimate the attribute of perseverance. If you hold in there, keep doing your job, you will continue to get better and you'll outlast your competitors or your competition. So that is very underrated. Perseverance, you're hearing it now. Perseverance will get you to the top.
That's the key word of the day.
Thorough.
I love that.
Back at it.
I had the train of thought right there. I guess I was going to ask you, what was the final message of the day, but perseverance is the thing. Now,
Perseverance.
last thing, for sure. As a content creator, as a person, and I know you grew up as an athlete, I do want to know, and I did ask my coach this, I want to know your perspective. I want to know what your thought process was on those days where you felt like alone in this sense, in social media, because, I mean, like you said, hours of dedication. There's times where I'm alone just editing, or I'm planning stuff out. Friends want to go out, I can't. I'm planning this out. So in my mind, I feel alone sometimes because I'm the only one. Like, there's nobody invested in me more than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, did you have those days? Back in those days where you had like one like or no likes?
There was days like that.
Damn, like, is this worth it?
So what I did was, no, I never got to the point like, is this worth it? It's like, we're going to make it happen. No matter what, it could be nobody hearing me, and I always believe we're going to get there. Like even now, we got so much growth left. There are days where it gets quiet. There are days that nobody views your stuff, but inside, you've always got to be opportunistic in the fact that you believe in yourself or believe in the product that you have, whether it's the podcast or your own inner being. You got to believe. Imagination, man. I tell people, so many people, you know, it's funny when you're younger, you have this great imagination. And then you start getting a little older, like getting in your teen years and 20s, and it's like you forget about your imagination, man.
Yeah.
I was going to be this, I was going to do that, I'm going to do this, and we forget about that. So my thing is perseverance, imagination. There could be dark days when you're down, there could be days where there's no likes or nobody viewing, but that don't matter, because those days are actually going to be the days that get you to where you want to go, and you got to believe it. You could be down at the bottom, but 24/7, man, you always got to believe it. I will always push that. No matter how low we were in likes or views, no matter how my life felt at that time, it was always going to be that we're going to be something, we're going to do something, and we're going to send that message. And that message is being heard now for sure. We still got a lot of growth left.
Yeah.
We're like 5% in, bro. We're still going, and that's what I'm saying. Like, keep grinding, perseverance, imagination, keep believing. Even on the darkest days, it's like they always say, keep working. So for me, it was always a belief. I could be down and out. I could be down, but I was never out, and it was always belief process. So for me, it's believing in yourself 24/7, no matter what, and staying at it.
I needed to hear that. Believe it or not, I needed to hear that.
100%.
Yeah, like we didn't talk about this on or off camera, but I am competing for a meet in May for strongman competition, doing the podcast, and I've got other content, and I'm still working and trying to balance the social life somewhat, and there's just a lot going on, and it's like hard to mesh well.
Yes.
So there's days where I'm like, fuck, should I even do this? You know what I mean? But I always remind myself, and something that'll always stick with me is 8th grade me wouldn't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
In terms of the opportunities that are opening the door, and then
things that are happening,
and then
the momentum.
Those, I think it's right now 5.2 thousand subscribers. Isn't the biggest, nowhere near the biggest podcast or biggest channel, but that's 5.2 thousand people. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know 5,000 people. They hit that subscribe button. So it's like there's a whole chain of people watching, people liking my stuff, supporting me. I don't see it physically because I'm behind the screen. Yeah. But it's just.
Well, that's why you gotta believe.
That's
you gotta make the unseen seen, bro. That's how it is. It's like I say, everything that you see sitting around here, everything around us was once unseen. Somebody's mind or imagination had to create these mics what I'm wearing, this was all unseen. So I always say, make the unseen seen. And the only way you do that is through perseverance and imagination. And you got to, you know, of course, pray to God as well. You know, believe in yourself and just get it done, man. Keep pushing. And if you do that, and that's like you say, you do got a lot of stuff on your plate, but it's like a swirling tornado. I always feel my life is a swirling tornado, bro. Yeah. You get up and it's going, and you just gotta roll with it. Yeah. You know, you gotta roll with it and you know, get things done.
Yeah, like with everything I'm doing and like this whole life that I've established for myself, like it's everything I'm doing is, of course, for me, the brand, my future and all that good stuff. It's just, where was I going with that? I don't know if you relate to this. I'm pretty sure you do, especially with the content. You lose perception of time.
Yes, big time.
It's just
it's like right now.
Yeah, it's just like this has to get done right now. Then this has to get done.
Yes.
Then this is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
There is no 9 to 5. There is no weekends.
It's 24/7.
It's all the time, and it's just it takes a toll. Like I said, I pulled an all-nighter, and I could have very well slept last night.
Yeah.
But my friends were like, "Hey, let's go play basketball."
Yeah.
I was like, I never see those dudes anyway. Let me just go out there, play ball, and I got there like I think it was 7:30 or 8.
Yeah.
Playing hoops. Next thing you know, let's go to Whataburger after. I'm like,
I
never see him anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I'm there till like 12:30, maybe 1. I get home, I'm like, I gotta be in San Antonio by 8. What the fuck I gotta do? So I didn't pack any of this. I didn't wipe my memory cards. I didn't like get everything ready.
Yeah.
I was like, but hey,
we're here.
It's another story to tell.
Yeah.
I'm just, there's no set time.
No.
For anything or anyone.
Just the life of a content creator, podcaster. It's a swirling tornado, bro.
But I wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world.
Man. It's fun.
Well, I do know you have things to do, and again, I'm gonna say it on camera. I don't know to. I am sorry about the technical difficulties,
bro, we're good. Don't worry about it.
This opens up the door for a part 2.
Yes, part 2 is coming.
And a part 3.
Y'all listen, it's part 2, part 3 is on the way.
And you're going to San Benito.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna fact check me. I don't know if it's in Harlingen or San Benito.
Okay.
Battle de Arroyo.
Either way, let's get it.
If it's in San Benito, it's over.
Y'all heard it, bro.
Money on that, right?
Y'all heard it. All right, let's get it though.
But appreciate you for coming on the show. Link in the description to his Instagram, Twitter, YouTube channel. Anything else?
TikTok, RobbyCTV.
I forgot about that.
Search RobbyCTV, put it in on Google, RobbyCTV. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
And again, I'm sorry about that, but thanks for
no
coming on,
problem,
man. I'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, man.
And that's it for today's video. Link to the description to all my social medias as well. Also, I don't have any products with me, but use code Brandon Ryan, all caps and spaces for 10% off your next purchase at GetRawNutrition.com. It's been Brandon Ryan. I'm Brandon Ryan Meats, and peace.
Let's go.